Hey, it's James from 4x4 Earth. Welcome to track 52 of the 4x4 Earth podcast, four-wheel drive track access with Wayne Hevey from 4-Wheel Drive Victoria.
Join James from 4x4earth.com as he learns all there is to know about four-wheel driving, camping, fishing, and getting out and exploring our great country on the 4x4 Earth podcast.
Hey everyone, we've had a lot of interest in the slightly more political podcast that we've been doing of late as we really try and delve into the political and land access issues that we're having in Victoria. And the interesting thing is that we're having interest all around the country because whilst we're talking about some Victorian-specific issues, these really are national issues and they're issues around, the freedom for people to go four-wheel driving. So, and I think, there may be some things that we can look at doing from a national point of view that are working kind of well in Victoria. But as always, I'm really keen to hear your details. One of the things I'm trying to do with the podcast when we're doing this sort of, a little bit politically motivated type conversation is I'm making sure that we try and give everyone a fair opportunity to get their point across. And that's why I've reached out to 4-Wheel Drive Victoria and Wayne Hevey, the CEO. He's been very good to come on the podcast and which, I think is a little bit coming into the lion's den. I sent most of the questions to him prior. He's happy to answer all of the questions, and I'm hoping that I've put the difficult questions that you would have wanted me to put to Wayne. And you know what? I think he's done a pretty good job of answering a lot of them. So have a listen. I am keen to hear what your thoughts are and what we can do to ensure that we have track access for you, me, our kids and our grandkids. So let's crack on with our podcast with Wayne Hevey, the CEO of 4-Wheel Drive Victoria. Hi Wayne, welcome to the podcast.
G'day James, how are you?
Outstanding. So do you want to just introduce yourself so some of our listeners will know who you are? Do you want to give us a little bit of background on who you are and what it is that you do?
Wayne Hevey's my name. I'm with 4-Wheel Drive Victoria. I've been 10 years now. Been in the CEO's role since start of 2014, so 5 years. Prior to that, I was working as a projects and events manager. But I've been here 10 years and have a pretty good understanding of what's going on in our association and what we do for the 4-Wheel Drive community. Anything else we want to know?
Well, we've got to check your credentials first, so we have to ask some very important questions. What sort of 4-wheel drive have you got?
Currently, I'm driving a sponsored Volkswagen Amarok V6, which is a wonderful thing.
Yep.
I have driven previously Toyota Land Cruiser, Land Rover, and a couple of GQ Patrols back in the day. I started driving those back in 1988, 89. I think I got my first one, brand new. Yeah, so I've had a few. I've driven a lot of 4-wheel drives over the years, and they've all got their own little idiosyncrasies, of course, and they've all got great points and some bad points. But, I'm in the Amarok right now, yeah.
And so, any mods on the Amarok?
Yeah, it's got a suspension's been lifted and got Bilstein shocks and whatnot, which makes it very, very comfortable to drive, especially out in the outback and through the bush. It's got the snorkel, of course, and UHF, just a full bar lights, winch, the roof rack, and all those sorts of things. But fuel batteries and whatnot. But it's not outlandish at all, but it's very comfortable and very great to use in the outback when I do go out bush. Yeah.
Nice. So mud, snow, sand, or rock?
I don't go looking for mud. I find that absolutely stupid. You want to tell your car in mud, especially underneath, get it all up in the mechanical areas, and then have to wash the bloody thing, and it takes ages to get it out. Snow, I've done a bit of snow driving. It's good fun. Sand and rock, when I have to, I do. I've just come back from some training over in Tasmania, and we sort of encountered some of that stuff over there in the wet weather we found ourselves in. But I don't go looking for it these days. I'm past that stage of my life. I'm much older than some of the guys running around those days. Yeah.
What's the best track that you've ever done, and why?
Gee, you couldn't go past a high country such as into the Wanangata via Zika Spur or out through Hearns or Wombat. All those tracks are fantastic. They've got their own challenges. Scared the pants off you when you first did them, I suppose. Collingwood Spur, when I first did that back in the day, way back in the early 90s, I did Collingwood Spur, and that was quite daunting to me at the time. Blue Rag was also another one, but unfortunately the hump's been taken out of the top of it. They're all just, we're really blessed with the tracks we've got to run around in Victoria. It's wonderful.
There are some great spots to visit. We're quite lucky in that respect. So the hairiest moment you've had four-wheel driving, and what have you learnt from it?
Going down hills back in the early days, once again, before technology came about, and you drove, well, the GQ Patrol, you drove in the low range first gear, and that didn't pull you up. We had turned all the accessories on to try and get the engine to sort of start working the wrong way and pulling up. But losing a little control in that regard is a bit scary. These days, the machinery, or the technology in the machines we drive is much better for you, but certainly having the basic cars, you learn your skills a lot earlier, a lot quicker than you would these days, and that's what we do. When four-wheel drive Victoria being an RTO, we train people to drive all the time. We try and get them into the older model cars so they actually know what the basics are all about and why these new buttons and whatnot, why they work and what they do, But learning, you never stop learning. As we say, the new cars coming along, we find there's always something else we need to know about so we can pass it on to our participants in our courses. So,
Cool. So a little bit about Four-Wheel Drive Victoria. So how many members, how many clubs, and do you represent at the moment?
We've just ticked over 90 clubs, which is fantastic. In fact, we've had a real upsurge since our June board meeting. I think we've had 11 clubs join us. Some of those are from people that just want to get into the association. Others are from the Facebook and social media groups, which is wonderful. We've got about 4,500 family memberships, which we equate to about 14,000 general members or individual members. It's growing, which is wonderful. So we hope that continues to happen. About 90 clubs at the moment, just over 90, but 92 in fact. Yeah.
So what's Four-Wheel Drive Victoria working on, and what do you think the biggest achievements have been over the last, 5 years?
Back in 2015, we were very fortunate to have a ministerially appointed four-wheel drive advisory committee set up. And that came about at a meeting when we met with the new Minister of the day, Lisa Neville, and it was a wonderful thing. Put the question to the Minister, and we were able to get this established. Now, that's given us the chance to work into a Victorian four-wheel drive strategy, which has got funding into it, and that's the funding we get, and that's to make this come about. So as far as achievements go, it's an ongoing process, this strategy. The money is there to make all these things come about, and they're still being worked on at present. And we have surveys being done, not only in Victoria, but also in New South Wales and elsewhere, of four-wheel drives. Now, four-wheel drives, we encompass not only the hardcore four-wheel drives, but right down to the SUVs and the real sort of bottom or lowest denominator with the four-wheel driving cars that stipulate their four-wheel drives, but maybe never get out into the bush. So we need to find out, to get our achievements up and running, we need to find out what the parameters are as to people's requirements in four-wheel driving, and then work out strategies how to get people into the bush. So the whole strategy really is based around that premise that we are looking to get more people active in the bush area through the landscape we have in Victoria, which is so diverse and fantastic and so different to the rest of the country in that regard. So we really are working hard to make sure that people understand that don't be scared by the fact you've only got an SUV that maybe won't climb up Blue Rag or whatever, but also gives you the opportunity to go into other areas and really spend time and enjoy the outback like we all do or want to. So other achievements we've got, how long you got? We've got an MOU with the land managers and the government, and that runs back to 2009. And that's now been rewritten and signed off by the current Minister, Louis D'Ambrosio, for MOU stating that the tracks won't be shut without consultation with Four-Wheel Drive Victoria unless there are a couple of things that come into play. The first one is fire. So if a fire was to come through, well, they don't need to talk to us at all. That's just a given. But the other ones are, if the track has been illegally formed, they are allowed to close it at any time without consulting us. Another one is if the track has been not used for some 2 years, they consider that we don't want to use it as four-wheel drivers, they will close it then. So it's up to us, and part of our premise, or part of our objectives are to make sure our clubs and our members find those tracks that are overgrown, haven't been used for some time, and then formulate a working party to get out and clear them so that they're not only there for us to use, but more importantly for the emergency vehicles to use during fire or flood events. So that's the MOU is written in stone, it's signed off by the Minister. That's got another 10 years to run from 2009 19 through. So that's wonderful. But the other big achievement, really, which has come about just prior to the election last year, the Premier announced a $105.6 million investment into coastal areas, but then another $10.5 million investment into upgrading four-wheel drive tracks throughout Victoria. $10.5 million to upgrade. I'm reading this from the paperwork I've put in front of me. Yeah, $10.5 million to upgrade four-wheel drive tracks across the state. Now, that comes about with the land managers working alongside us. And I've got to tell you, I haven't got this in written form, but there was a meeting in Morwell yesterday with the Parks Victoria people. Mr. Matthew Jackson, the CEO of Parks Victoria, stood up and he had 240 people, I'm told, at this meeting from all over Victoria, and he stated exactly what I've just said. $10.5 million to upgrade four-wheel drive tracks across the state, and he said we are working with four-wheel drive Victoria to make this come about. Now, from our point of view, that is an incredible achievement. To have us being spoken of in terms as such, and to have the esteem and the respect from the land managers and the government, that is just a wonderful thing. Now, that's not something that happens anywhere else in the country. I don't know. I believe I'd be astounded if it did. We are very fortunate. This, four-wheel drive Victoria has been running for 43 or so years now, and 44 in fact, and it's not because I'm doing it. It's the whole thing's been going for a long time, but working with the government, the land managers to make sure that we have the ability to drive the tracks throughout the countryside. It's a very, very determined, positive attitude we take, and that's really what our premise is all about. We are here to make sure that the people who have four-wheel drives, and certainly our association members, have the right to drive throughout the estate.
It is a pretty good achievement.
That's wonderful. And I can tell you right now, we get knocked by some of our own people, but certainly those that aren't association members. What are you buggers doing for us? Well, let me tell you, we work very, very hard. I go and I sit on different committees and different meetings. I go to meetings with the Parks and Dell people, our advisory committee meetings. It's all about what we are doing for people to be able to utilise and enjoy the state's natural resources, which are the outback through the traps and whatnot. But let me just say also, it's very, very easy to think that these tracks are purely for four-wheel driving. No, they're not. They're actually there for the emergency vehicles. We happen to get the use of these tracks throughout Victoria because we help maintain them. And that's a very important sort of thing that we need to tell our people and push out there. If we stop maintaining these tracks, if four-wheel drive Victoria wasn't here tomorrow, it is absolutely a positive, and that's a definite situation that the Parks and Dell people haven't got the infrastructure nor the manpower to keep the tracks open, so they would be closed. That's what it's all about from our point of view. We need to keep very, very cognizant about all this track clearing we do. And let me just run you through some numbers. Last year, this is up to June, just gone, we put in 14,300 odd hours of volunteer work. In that, there was track clearing consisted of just under 2,000 hours. We ran Clean Up the Bush programs, which consisted of just under 300 hours. We ran 12 camp host sites throughout the year where we put people in the prominent camping areas, put a presence there, and put out to those campers gift pack with educational material to try and influence people on correct camping procedures, such as take your rubbish out, tread lightly, put your fires out with water before you leave, all those sorts of things. We also, over the year, we've gone up to 6 shows and events throughout Victoria. And with that, we actually have our shows at the National 4x4 show and others around town, but also we take up positions in the country shows and put our clubs, such as the one in Shepparton only 2 weeks ago, where our Goulburn Valley boys, we gave them all the equipment required, and they stand and we understand to try and promote their own club and talk to people about what we do as an association to keep the country beautiful and keep it available for everyone to use. So we really have a lot of runs on the board. We sort of we live by the KPIs we're governed by. The KPIs are set by ourselves and Melbourne Parks, and that gives us the funding we get from the government. Alongside that strategy I talked about before, we need to fulfil the KPIs, and we actually knock it out of the park every year, which is I'm really thankful about. And those KPIs really are set forward to make sure we do deliver on what we say we're going to deliver. So the strategy we take on that point of view, from that point of view, is we understate and over-deliver every time. So right at the moment, we need to do 3,500 volunteer hours a year. Now, as I say, this year just gone, we knocked out 14,300. The year before, we did 16,500. Those hours go up and down depending on fire and emergency response requirements, whether it's a fire or a flood. Our members get out in force, and just recently they've just finished running up in the Bunyip area when the Bunyip State Forest fires went through. Our members have been working up there tirelessly to rebuild people's fences and get their houses and their lives back in order. So there's a lot of great community-based work we do also through that Four Drive Victoria's volunteers, and we're very proud of it.
And it's a great achievement. So what are the other KPIs? So there's obviously, the number of hours that are done in track maintenance.
Okay, let me just go through. We train people. We actually train people. We have subsidised courses not only for members but others in first aid, chainsaw courses, private training courses. We have to build restoring access to track and sites, recreation photo. We build a library of photos that Delta Parks can use in their own right after the things we do. We clean up the bushes, that's snow. And we also do flood and fire relief, manage support activities. And, a lot of our clubs do things off their own bat to help people who are disadvantaged, disabled, or in a situation where they can't get out and enjoy the bush like we do. So we actually have weekends and days where we take people who are wheelchair bound or have cancer problems and whatever. We get out there and do all this sort of work to try and just give people a better chance to see what we're so proud about, and proud of seeing and being involved in. High Country House Restoration, we work with the guys from the Victorian High Country House Association in a big way. A lot of our clubs get out there and do a lot of great stuff there, which is really well received. So, there's tons of things we do across the year in landscape, Iconic drives, we host those iconic drives on our website and promote material to go with them.
Yep.
So iconic drives, there's 7 of those around the state. So, and also we strengthen with a regional representative network which runs across the state also. We got a meeting down in Haywood, just out of Haywood, the Gunjamara area down in what was called Mount Eccles, now called the Binge area, and that's just been given World Heritage listing. So we're going down there in October to have another regional reps meeting, and that's where all our regional reps come together with the parks and DELP people, and we sit and talk about what our problems are in each of the different areas around the state, so that people understand what they need to do to make someone else's life a bit easier. So this is the commitment we have with building these relationships with parks and DELP and the government. And so it just goes on and on.
It's been a fairly interesting time in the last couple of months in Victoria as far as track access goes. What's 4-Wheel Drive Victoria's involvement been with VAC?
Okay, well, I actually sat on the committee for VAC in the stakeholder group, and our involvement was very, very solid there. So all the meetings I attended, and we listened to the science that's put forward by those who are looking for restoring or taking out tree logging and things like that, looking after the bush in itself. We look, there's also the APRIS that are involved here in a big way, having the ability to put the bees into trees and then transport them back to, say, on the Riverina area, where the money or the dollar value for the almond industry is about $6 billion a year, I'm told. We talk about all these different things, and we also talk about our sort of own requirements, and that basically is that we want access. We don't want to be shut out of anywhere. There's a lot of different elements coming. There's obviously the prospectors and miners are in the game as well as the bushwalkers, the deer hunters. All those people are in the same committee and have representation there. So we've been very, very involved in the whole thing. But when it comes down to it, it's really not a matter for us to determine ourselves what we want. It's a matter of everyone coming together. And the VAC people, which is put in there by the government, of course, they draw up the conclusion from all the evidence given, and they take that to the minister. The minister will make the decision. Now, one would say, why are they taking forests and putting them into national parks? The argument comes from the guys who are against this, that the national parks are going to chop our ability to drive around in the parks. That's what they're saying is going to happen. There's nowhere written anywhere that that's been said or noted. We have not lost access at all. Certainly the prospectors and miners are going to lose a bit of area because of native title and whatnot, especially in the Wellsford Forest area. And the logging industry is going to lose a bit of traction maybe. But, look, there's a lot of argument to and fro. What disappoints me really is that we get a lot of commentary which is not quite factual from people who should know better, come down to Victoria from interstate and start going wah, 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 and have no basis to talk about what they say at all. In fact, there's stuff being said which is quite untrue. And I must say, I won't go into detail on that, but because I haven't actually got the evidence in front of me, but what I'm hearing is some pretty ordinary stuff. So I really, from VX's point of view, whilst we might not agree with changing forests into parks because of the obvious things, such as some of our members are deer hunters, some of our members like myself like to go prospecting, some also have dogs and like to take dogs into parks, and that's going to mean that they won't be able to do that. Whilst we don't condone that, we also have to be careful how we put our stance forward. We look after the association as a whole, and we don't. And the other guys have got their own associations. The Deer Hunters Association, the Prospectors Miners, they've all got their own associations there. We're very careful about what we do. We're very conciliatory with our approach to government and the land managers. We actually talk to them with great respect, and that then gives us back the same. And that's very important when you want to move ahead and progress to get lands. We work on the principle we've got to give a bit to get a bit. And that's always been Four-Wheel Drive Victoria's sort of adage. And you're not going to sort of get into a stone throwing contest or a bun fight about this and that with people who want to put facts or non-factual evidence out there and try and draw inference to things that aren't real and cause all these actions that go on with other groups. I hope I covered that.
Yeah, definitely. So there was Four-Wheel Drive Victoria released a press release recently. Yes. And that created a moderate amount of concern particularly on Facebook, I saw.
What we did that for was to put some facts out there. And all that says is actually they're facts. And whether people like it or not, they are the facts. We're not here to try and pump our own tyres up or make things up that make us look good or make me feel better. It's all about the facts, and that's exactly what it is. So some people don't think that we're working in their interest. As I said before, and I can't say it enough, we're here to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to drive out in our landscape. Yeah, it's just, boy, I could talk about it for hours, but we're really all about making sure we don't lose access. Now, if it was to come that these forests were transposed or brought into national parks, and that then changed the landscape so that the government decided national parks would have other implications or restrictions put on us, we would certainly raise our voice and get up in arms about things. But at this point in time, there's nothing to say that that's going to happen for four-wheel driving. As I say, there's other things that are going to be sort of curtailed in some respect. Unfortunately, we respect that. We empathise with those who are going to lose out, but we're not fighting their fight for them. We're fighting our fight for ourselves, for the four-wheel driving community. So, yeah, let's finish that conversation right there.
Yeah, exactly. Then at the recent Buggy rally, so the Bush User Group United, we had Ruthie come down. So a Queenslander, fairly passionate about land access.
Yeah.
Would it have been worthwhile having someone from Four-Wheel Drive Victoria to talk at that rally?
How do you think that would have gone down yourself? Now, given the fact of what I just said, you've got people like the bloke you just mentioned coming down from interstate, talking about stuff that he's got no idea about. Right? I've tried to have conversations with that chap, and he won't come near me, primarily because he doesn't want to hear the facts. I go back 3 or 4 years, I tried to approach him after hearing him speak at the 4x4 show one year about unlock the gates. Seasonal closures, let me just put this on record, seasonal closures in Victoria, they're there, and they happen because of 2 different reasons. First one is environmental issues. So if a track is put into a condition where it's now unsafe or environmentally damaging the landscape, such as people driving over peat moss or sphagnum moss, which is a very precious sort of ground cover which filters our water flow into our streams and into our our water catchment areas, that's an environmental issue. The other one, which is more important these days, is the risk management. So when you have fires that go through the place, it's now 10 years since the 2009 Black Fires area in Victoria. So we've got this fire burnt mountain ash, which is about to fall over, and they're starting to fall over. They have a 10-year lifespan, I'm told, that they do fall. Now, unfortunately, we've already had 2 deaths in the recent weeks from trees falling on cars as they're driving through. So some of these tracks are seasonally closed because of access being denied purely on risk management issues. And that sometimes doesn't go down well with some of their members and also other parts of the community. But it's a real thing. This seasonal closure approach was brought about by one of our chaps in Four-Wheel Drive Victoria some years back. At the time, the land managers were closing tracks permanently. The notion was thrown up by one of our guys to say, hang on a sec, why don't we have a little think about this? Why don't we just say that these seasonally closed tracks, these tracks could be closed on a seasonal basis from the start of winter through to the opening of the summer area, or around November, and that's how that came about. So we're very fortunate in Victoria that we have this ability to have seasonal closures. The other one we've got under our belt in Victoria is the MVO access, which is management vehicle access only. There are some 1,600 tracks, I believe, at the moment in Victoria under that MVO access. We have the ability as Four-Wheel Drive Victoria to put application in to traverse and drive along 1/3 of those tracks. The reason we haven't got more is because we don't take advantage of that 1/3. And when I put arguments up into our Ministerial Advisory Committee to say we would like this other track put on the list, they say, why would you want to do that? You're not using the ones you've got now. So that stops my argument very quickly. So in reality, we're trying to push our clubs into using the MVO track access as it is now more and more. Because I can tell you right now, if I said we had 10 applications in the last 12 months, I'd be lying. I'd be overstating it. It's probably more like 4 or 5. So it's up to us as members of our association to use these MVO access tracks to give the impression to the government or the land managers that we want to see more of it open up for us. We've got to take the bit between the teeth and get on the front foot. And that's what we try and do always. You've got to give a bit to get a bit. So you've got to really put it out there. And really, from Four-Wheel Drive Victoria's point of view, always it's been, what can we do for you, is the question we ask the government and the land managers before we start asking for anything in return. What can we do for you? And unfortunately, we've put that model forward to other states over the years, and we've said to them, you might want to just have a look at this and try and promote it in your own right, in your own state. It doesn't seem to have got much traction. But anyway, that's not our concern. As I say, we're not going to talk about the other states and tell them how to suck eggs. We look after ourselves down here, and we try and do it to the best of our ability to give our members and others the use of the landscape. So,
yes. So
going to that meeting, as you say, go back to that buggy rally.
Yep.
There would have been no point. I'm sure that if I'd have stood up there with my Four-Wheel Drive Victoria badge on and my outfit on, I would have been stoned. I'm still not scared to stand up. In fact, I'm not going to go into details about personality, but I could certainly stand up and talk to anyone that wants to have a crack or have a shot at us, because we're not hiding behind it. We've got nothing to hide behind. We are talking about facts. We're here to make sure that we all get access to the land. Nothing shorter.
So there's a couple of things in there. The first one, from my point of view, is for a four-wheel drive club member, well, what's the process to get access to one of these MVO tracks?
Okay, they just send an application form. They download it from the website, download the application, fill it out, send it into the office. It then goes off to the region which the track's involved in, and that goes then to the managers of the region, and they will either give it the tick or not. And very rarely do they not give it the tick, unless there's some environmental reason why they can't or they shouldn't let it happen. So it's very easy. Fill out the form from the website, send it straight to the office, and we process it. And there's been no knockbacks I know of in the last 12 months. They've all gone ahead.
So why do you think people aren't doing more of them? Are they tracks worthwhile doing?
Well, I don't know because I haven't actually done them, but I'd certainly like to. The other thing about the whole thing with the closures, well, certainly from that point of view, just finish that little conversation, the members need to really get off their own little bottoms and get involved in a bigger way. And we do encourage that. I talk to a lot of clubs, go to a lot of club nights, and it's something I keep harping on and keep banging on about. We need to show, as I say, positive foot forward and make this happen. Otherwise, we may lose the ability to travel on the ones which are there now. They might just take it off us. We'd fight against it, of course, but that's we've got to use these things. Otherwise, you'll lose them. So, talking about the track access and whatnot, and I'll give you this one too. With the MOU we have, with seasonal closures and other tracks being shut, when they actually want to do that, and there's one we're looking at right now, which is up on the Rubicon Trail, I heard from a ranger up there that was an MOV access application had gone in. He was surprised that I hadn't heard about it. Straight away, we were up there and we looked at the track face-to-face with the guys from both Dolphin Parks, and there's a conversation going on now about that. I've also done 3 or 4 others in the last year or two, which have been supposedly earmarked to be either graded or shut on a seasonal basis. I've been out and looked at these things, and fair dinkum, and honestly, it happens that we have got a voice, and these things have been altered or changed to be conducive to good management and also good work and good partnership deals. So it does happen. I can assure you it does happen.
We'll leave it there. We've covered a lot of ground. We did talk for about an hour, so the next episode will come out shortly after we go through and edit it up. Quick reminder, if you're loving the podcast, please like and share it. If you're loving the podcast but never been to the website, check out the forum, check out the track map, check out our gallery. There's lots of things to explore on the 4x4 Earth website. Stay safe out there, and hopefully I'll see you on the tracks one day. Bye.
4x4earth.com is used by over 200,000 people every month to find great tracks, organise trips, and find out how to better enjoy exploring the great outdoors. There's over 1,000 tracks and 300 campsites ready for you to explore. So check out 4x4earth.com today and sign up to get access to the track information, ask questions, and meet other 4x4 Earthers. Membership is completely free. If you're looking for a good route, check out 4x4earth.com today.